have a few seconds ago, but I don't know. I just stopped it and started over. All right, so I'm going to talk about my spiritual awakening. So, me, before I get into it, I'm a dancer, I'm a yogi, I'm in fitness. Um, Expression through movement and also my voice is what I want my channel to be about. Not just me, but I want people to find their creativity, their flow and movement, their ease with communicating their emotions and their body and being mobile. So the my channel will be vlog-ish, plus like some workouts and mobility flows and how they can become more flexible. Flexibility is like another form of, it's not another form, it is also strength training. It takes, you got to be strong to be flexible, right? And the way our body moves, right, it coincides with, I use it as a metaphor, right? If I'm flexible and strong in my body, it teaches me how to be flexible and strong in my mind. Give love and care to taking care of my movement, my soul, right? And I express myself that way. Oh, there's a frog. Sorry, I'm at my pond. This is like my go-to spot. This is my third life. So, spiritual awakening. I'm going to be using these lives to, this is my second or third YouTube live, to kind of speak, whether there's someone there or not. There's nobody there right now, you know. Maybe somebody might catch it on a playback, or also just kind of like a reference point of some long form talking content. But, and this is kind of like a walk with me video too. Taking a walk and talking to you, and if also somebody comes on there, then I answer, I talk to people, whatever. I think this is the first time I've ever actually tried to express on some sort of media about my spiritual awakening. I thought, you know, it's been a few years now. It's been almost 10 years. Well, about almost 9 years. It happened to me in 2018. I didn't even know what one was. However, I feel like I'm starting to even understand more about what happened. How like movement and yoga and expression and emotion and creativity, and I've always had vivid dreams and certain things like was kind of preparing me for that. I feel that now that I've heard other people's experiences, I see a lot of similarities. Other people that have talked about their spiritual awakenings and from other sources that I've gathered, like how, I don't know, I feel like almost sometimes for some people it's sparked by some kind of trauma, you know, and there's all different types of trauma. But, you know, what I've been hearing lately is, oh, there's a dragonfly. They're my favorite. They're out now. Let me see. They might be in the pond. I'm like walking away from it, but right. And actually, I think dragonflies are a symbol of spiritual awakening. So funny that the first one I've seen now since last spring, was just at this moment when I'm doing this live. So, but I've been hearing a lot about karma, right? Oh. But I think I'm starting to understand karma better. And I think that I'm starting to understand how that can kind of tie into somebody's spiritual awakening, right? It's kind of, karma's not like if you do bad to somebody else. Well, I guess it could be. right? But it's more than just if he did bad, karma's coming for him. No, it ties into your soul. It ties into past lives. It ties into your DNA. It ties into so many different things. Karma, right? And what I'm starting to learn lately through different sources. Oh, it's a bumblebee. A little busy bee. What I'm starting to learn, I don't know if I got that other. Hi, just joining. You want to care about it? I'm talking about spiritual awakenings. We're talking about my spiritual awakening. I didn't even know what one was. But hi, say hi. If you're on, tell me who you are. If you think that my live might help somebody out that you know, then share it. I'm going to post it afterwards. You might want to refer back to it if you feel something, in the playback. So, hello and welcome. Wherever you are, whatever the time of day it is, I hope you are doing well. So, sorry, it's noisy up there. I'll go back to this way. I was just saying how I feel like as I've started to learn, like it was 2018 when I had, or maybe what sparked the spiritual awakening. Leading up to that, I wasn't searching for one. I didn't even know what one was. However, was practicing yoga. I know there were spiritual elements that tied into it, but from my dance background, my yoga was more about like what it does for my body, not so much the spiritual side of it. And at my teacher training, I did my 200-hour certification in 2008. I'm sorry, 2009. I did a 200-hour teacher training certification after I had just finished going to NYU, the Tisch School of the Arts. I had just gotten my MFA for dance composition and choreography. So I'm still in school mode. I love yoga. Yoga ties into healing my body and making it even so I could dance again, and that's another story, and I can tell it some other time. But since I was in school mode, I'm like, I want to deepen my practice in yoga, and I don't have a job yet. I'm just out of school, so I might as well just do the certification now. So I jumped into it and did it. But I still wasn't focused on the spiritual side of it. Again, it was more of just me wanting to understand and deepen my understanding of the poses and the technique and the alignment and how to teach that to other people. But I was always a spiritual person, not like studying it deeply, but I believed there was more than what. And so anyways, 2018, leading up to what had happened to me and my story, and where I think where I started to understand now how I feel like our soul's karma, right? Those things that we face that are great in our life and that are unfortunate in our life, what our soul came here to learn, right, from it. Anyway, I had a breakup, and I've broken up now. It's just, for me, every person I've dated the same person. It's just in different bodies. That's my karma. I track a narcissistic avoidant type, and I'm not trying to bash anybody about it. I'm just saying, from my perception, what I feel that is my karmic cycle, and it's to teach me something. So, again, I was devastated by a relationship ending and confused and felt manipulated, and and kind of blindsided by it ending, and that had ended in early 27 or later 20, well, like toward like August of 2017, right? So almost to the last quarter of 2017. Leading up to that, my whole life, been moving, expressing, dance, ballet, and then yoga came into my life, in about 2002 and 2009. I get a 200-hour certification with it. So movement and breath and expression through my body had been in my life. But Um, Not so much vocally. I was a teacher, dance teacher, fitness instructor, right? But anyways, wasn't searching for a spiritual awakening. Didn't even know what one was. And then this breakup happened, and it's not like I hadn't had other breakups before. I mean, I can get into that later, but something similar had happened at another point in time. But I started listening to, because I'm always a oh, anything is possible kind of person, not gullible, but if I hear something and I think, let me test it out, let me experiment. I'll do social experiments. I'll just do things. If I hear something that's a little out there but might seem tangible, I'll look into it. So I heard about binaurals and binaural beats. Oh, that they could change eye colors and that they can shift certain things. And so let me test it out. Uh, See if anything happens. Well, I started listening to them, and I did start feeling like little slight changes, and they were cool. And I think maybe because I was searching for binaurals, it started bringing other things to my feed, and then I started learning a little bit about vibration and frequency and hypnosis. That you could do like a guided hypnosis, anything. Also, I'm healing from a breakup, and I'm just trying to change my mindset and focus from feeling upset about that to, okay, what's next in my life? Never heard of these binaurals. They're pretty cool. So doing anything different is gonna shift and change you. And then I started feeling different. And then I had in the past astral projection, and I had understood about astral projection a little bit. Didn't understand what was happening to me. It actually happened to me in 2005 for the first time, and it happened to be after another breakup, and actually after I had broken up out of a long relationship and away from a fiance. Wedding was being planned and everything, that had cheated on me, and I was devastated. It was like my first love, and I had astral projected on my body, but I didn't know what that was at the time. All I know is I was reading some weird book that I had found in high school that I bought as like a Hot Topic or something like that, but I didn't know what it was about. Like I never read it. But now I'm 25 years old at the time, and I'm like, okay, it says in there's this meditation that can bring you to a past life. So I study it, and I do it on myself. What ends up happening is I'm following the meditation in my head because I read it and kind of memorized it. Didn't know, but for the first time, it made me lucid and conscious in a dream. And next thing I know, that meditation that I was trying to do, that was from the book, this past life meditation, it didn't bring me into a past life. It was the first time I was lucid and conscious at the same time, I guess asleep, or just brought me into a trance. But I didn't know what any of that was at the time. And next thing I knew, I was running up these gold stairs and running down these gold stairs. It was just complete blackness, dark. And I was running up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs and down the stairs of these gold stairs. And they were just not attached to anything. They were just like these floating gold stairs in darkness. Like I was like in a void with gold stairs, running up them and down them. And then because I was lucid, I was starting to wonder, well, where am I and how am I? And then I started feeling my whole body vibrate. And that was just freaky. And I didn't understand what that was. And then I came out of it. And then a few years later, in 2009, and it always stuck with me, but I wasn't big into researching things back then, like on YouTube and stuff. I didn't know how to really even look into it. Had other things going on, so it just stayed in my mind. then I did the yoga teacher training certification, and then I was talking to my teacher trainer about it, in the midst of the yoga certification. And she actually wasn't even quite familiar. She's like, I think you might have been starting to astral project that your body. She started to actually explain the concept to me for the first time. She's like, your body vibrating and all that. She's like, it sounds like your body's going to want to float off. She's like, but don't be afraid. That vibration is the body starting to stop. She's like, there's like a cord that will always keep you connected to it. So the next time it happens to you, if it happens to you, let yourself float and see what happens. So I think it was a couple days later, we were working on meditation in my teacher training, and it started happening to me again for the first time since it had happened in 2005. We're now in 2009. Wow. And it was cool that I had that conversation with her before. I was like, okay, well then I'm gonna let myself float. And I floated on my body. I saw all of my yoga class just meditating and laying on their mats. Saw me behind me, and without fear, and since it's daytime, without fear, I floated onto the street of 6th Avenue. I was like on, I think the yoga studio was on maybe 77th and 6th Avenue, Manhattan, in the 70s, low 80s, somewhere in Manhattan. No, it was 68. It was a Yoga Works studio. So, but again, life got busy, and I was like, okay, now I'm more aware of it. This astral projection. Tried it again at another point. It worked. I hadn't been to France yet. I hadn't been to Paris yet. And set this intention, floated on my body. And I had set the intention I wanted to go to Paris. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, who didn't really believe in these things, but he asked, he said, did anything happen, when you tried doing that last night? And I said, no, I didn't end up in France. I ended up in front of some pyramid. It was like glass on the outside. I was like, think about it. You just ended up at the Louvre. I was like, oh, I did. So it was like the first time I and this was in 2011. And those are like the only experiences I had with it at that point. Fast forward to 2018. And hello, if you're just joining, I'm just talking about spiritual awakening. Say hi. If you'd like. Thanks for the likes for those who have given me some. So now that was 2011. It was the last time something like that had happened to me. So then I ended up with this breakup that left me sad again in 2017. And I hear these little froggies. So basically, I started listening to those binaurals, as I was talking about earlier, and binaural beats. Started listening to some, learning more about like healing chakras and things that I never dived deep into because I was always in the physical practice, not in the spiritual, mind, heart, body, soul. I mean, body practice, yeah, but not mind and soul, spirit. Woo woo. What I considered woo woo. Maybe I still consider it woo woo. Who cares? Woo woo is what woo woo. And then I ended up one day deciding to do this guided meditation from a YouTube with a binaural attached to it. And I forgot the name of the person that gave it, but it was to meet your spirit guide. But that's not what ended up happening. Sometimes when I'm going in with the intention to do something with a meditation, I'll just end up somewhere else. I did end up meeting spirit guides later, but it's a different story. This is about this initial wake up. So I go into the meditation. I'm listening. It was a man talking and putting you into the theta state. And I end up feeling my body shake. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm hearing him, but I'm getting like that. I'm like, well, I'll just astral project with this. Maybe it's what's going to bring me to my spirit guide. I'm starting to feel the body shake. I had a little bit of experience with it. Leading up to that, though, what happened was I had one more astral projection before I had the spiritual awakening, where I became lucid on my couch one night, had fallen asleep and woke up in my dream, and then I ended up astral projecting. And I think the binaurals led to it. And I astral projected out of my body. At the time I was living in New York City. I lived there for 20 years. So I let myself out of my body. It was like a couple of weeks before this spiritual awakening. I came out of my body and I floated out into, now this was on just between second, it was on between second and first. I lived on between second and first on 75th Street. But this was the back of the building I lived in. So this was 74th Street. I went out and floated on 74th Street. I was just enjoying it. I was seeing the people that were out walking around, and I looked up at the sky and I saw these triangles, like the sky, like the colors when you go into these kinds of trances are more real than what's supposed to be real, right? But then I look and I see beyond like this veil in the nighttime sky. It's like dark, but it's like a lighter dark. You can actually see the blue of it. And I see these little spaceships and all these weird different stars and planets and things going on up there and floating. And then, I got kind of sucked back in my body. Now to the day where the spiritual awakening occurred. I end up getting into that trance. I feel the vibrating body and I'm floating out of my body, and I'm now all of a sudden, like that man that was talking in the meditation his voice was completely gone. But I'm lucid, I'm aware, I've astral projected, I was lucid, now I've astral projected, I floated into this tunnel, right? And I'm intrigued and scared, not scared, but intrigued, a little like, okay, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? And I end up floating down. I don't float down the tunnel. I'm at the tunnel. It's like a gray tunnel. And then I see at the other side of the tunnel, there's a woman floating, but she looks exactly like me. And her eyes are like a hologram, though. She doesn't seem evil. She doesn't seem good. She just is. And she's just floating there. And I'm staring at her. And I guess myself, which later on, after talking to people, they said that I had reached source and that I was actually seeing a version of my higher self. So I don't know if that ties into spirit guides or not, because it was supposed to be a spirit guide, but I end up kind of in the realm of seeing my higher self. And what I think about it later is seeing that tunnel, right? When people have these near-death experiences, which sound really similar to like people's spiritual awakenings without, astral projecting. I think it's like the same kind of planes, honestly, is what I'm starting to put together in my head with all of this. So I'm at the tunnel, and I guess I'm meeting my source, my higher self, and a voice, not the guy in the meditation, he's gone. And I'm aware I'm supposed to be in a meditation to see my spirit guide. Well, he's not completely gone. His voice is coming in and out. But then a completely different voice appears, and I'm staring and I'm seeing those holographic eyes, and I'm like, what is going on? And I hear a voice, it was a very deep male voice, say, "And your life begins now." And I got sucked through the tunnel and just whoop, like whooshed back in my body. It was crazy. I was just like, what happened? And the vibration all over. It's been a journey. It wasn't happening often, but now I'm like, what was that? So I start typing in things to figure it out. And, meanwhile, I'm hearing spiritual awakening stories, but I'm not still aligning it. So finally, I'm looking for people online. I'm in New York City, so you're going to meet all types. I find this psychologist that's also a dream interpreter, and also kind of works in the metaphysical as well. So I contact her and I asked to go in and talk to her about this dream interpretation, because what is it, a dream? I was doing a meditation, it was whatever. But that's when she said to me, and I explained it, and this was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that happened. And she said, "Isn't it clear what that was?" And I said, "No." She's like, "That's a rebirth. You were reborn. The voice said, and your life begins now, right? And that person that looked like you was this version of your higher self." It's like that was an awakening. It's like a spiritual awakening. And as I dive deeper through the years, there was all kinds of awakenings. And soon after that came my Kundalini awakening, my first Kundalini awakening, right? Um, so I feel like I'm going to talk about my Kundalini awakening in my next live. Maybe I'll try to go live tomorrow morning, recap on this. But yeah, so like I said, I'm just talking about this. I might, at some point, that I watch it myself on the playback, I might start. This is the first time I ever talked about it on any form of social media. I've told friends and family members about it, but I'd never talked to or tried to tell the world about it. And I never thought I had the credentials to do so, even though I do have the credentials to do so. I have the experience. But I feel like I've learned a lot about it since then. Almost 10 years has gone by. And, I'm in a place now where I really want to express it, talk about it, and give my thoughts and feedback on it and help people and guide people. Because I feel like a lot of people, too, now are starting to wake up, are starting to have these kinds of experiences. I've heard people back since 2012. It started really happening with people, but I was like, that's a little late in 2018. But now more and more people, and I'm even hearing just regular influencers and content creators that don't talk about this stuff usually starting to talk about it. I feel like we're waking up. We're in a weird time period, a unique time period for humans, right? With this singularity, robots, AI, all that, and finding what's real, what's truth. And I think we're all starting to wake up. So there's got to be those that have had these experiences. We need to get together and talk about it. Those who haven't yet, right? But these are our divine. Every human being is capable, right? We all have the third eye. We all have that antenna. We all have the gut. We all have the nose. We are built to be this way. We were just programmed and shut off. And some of us somehow got out of the program, but still have to work out a lot of things to even understand what's going on. So yeah, I'm almost 10 years into this journey, and now I'm ready to talk about it. So I'm doing I'm doing the lives, and when I'm watching some of my lives on playback now, it gives me ideas to what to make for long form content. And at the same time too, like I've written things down, but journals and stuff like that. This is kind of putting it into my thoughts into one spot. It's here, it's on YouTube. I can expand on it. I can organize it better, where it's not just me rambling and shifting back and forth, right? But if you ever stumble upon this live, or you see my next live where I'll kind of go more and I'll recap this and go a little bit deeper into my Kundalini awakenings, and then kind of like all these kinds of things happen really like right on top of each other. And like I said, things have been continuing to happen, but other things started happening too. Like I got married, divorced, and now I'm kind of like more, I believe, in my dark feminine energy. I'd never been there before. Dark feminine doesn't mean evil. It's just a new place I'm in. So you might be back here from another live, kind of come back to the first story of it, or you might somehow just catch this in playback. I will be talking about the Kundalini Awakening next. And again, there's nobody on here right now. There were some people though. If you did see this, whatever the time of the day, I said in the beginning too, whatever the time of the day, wherever you are in this world, if this video did come to you somehow, it was for a reason. I hope that you're doing well. All right? Stay safe. See you later.